A to Z. How did I find this trade and why was I so okay with it? Why did I even take this? Okay, so this was a 1,600 percenter right here in the hit rates. I have was able to turn $1,000 account into $13,537 today, alone, just today alone. So yeah, it would have been higher if I would have held, but obviously, I like to trim my contracts, especially because there's zero DTs. Any sort of pullback, like on the way up, those pullbacks were like I was up like 600% and it pulled back to like 280%. And then it, went up to like 900%, pulled back to like 600%. So I was, losing 300% in just a 1 minute candle. That sucks, right? So trim your contracts along the way with these 0 day contracts, because that's just how you keep the risk as low as possible, right? So yeah, all in all, a very good day. Was able to do a bunch more with the market today. So 16-30% right there. Why? So just kind of looking here on SPY, if you guys can see this. Obviously, this was before we even knew what this daily candle was going to look like. Kind of expecting a really big move today. I was talking about. I don't know if you guys checked that out in the daily watch list, but I was mentioning today there's going to be a really really big move happening. That's what we expected. Reason being was because if you look at the weekly time frame, which I always start on, as you guys know, we're ascending. Okay, so just kind of looking at that, I got a trend line there, I got a trend line there, and can't really connect this top one anywhere, so I guess I'll just connect it to like the middle of that, right? You don't have to be super accurate. So right there, see, and it's decently accurate even on the daily, right? So all I did was see this kind of jumbling around inside this little ascending pattern now here on the daily time frame, okay? And so what happened was we had a bullish hammer on this day, okay, but then it gapped down the next day, right? And so we saw a really choppy day these last 2 days, really tough to trade those days, very awkward, okay? And so then after a breakout to the downside of our little ascending pattern here, what's the magic word? Retest, right? So breakdown, came back to retest. Now we didn't know that it was going to be bullish because this could totally have just opened sideways and died, just like it opened sideways and ripped, right? So we had to go down to a smaller time frame. But first, noticing you never want to be biased. So even though this did break to the downside of the wedge, obviously should retest, so bulls would be expected normally. You still want to always question the downside. Also, I saw that there was a cup right here. There's a bunch of gaps up here to still fill, like this one, for example. So that's two bullish reasons. And then you have a handle right here on the daily time frame. So a cup and handle on the daily time frame with your demand zone sort of being right here. I drew the demand zone there because that's where the buyers buy. So I had the demand zone there on the daily. Okay. Then I go to the hourly. I've got my demand zone there on the daily. And then I look at the hourly. You remember where I have my demand zone there on the daily? Let me try to draw it on the hourly. Right here, right? Why? Because that's where the buyers buy. That's where the buyers came in and they bought it, right? Where would your other demand zone be, right? Guess where the buyers buy? Right down here, right? So that's just the easiest way to draw a demand zone, is look to where the buyers buy. Okay, that's where you could have caught it down there and then right over here. Now, a lot of people were thinking actually bearish during the intraday right here, understandably, because that looked like a bear flag. But me and a couple other students, I think, were very, very more looking to the upside, right? Because, one thing is that, yeah, it's bear flagging down there, but if you also take a look, this has been holding, got an aggressive buy, came down on a nice little descending chop, then it went round here, aggressive buy, slight pullback, that's a bull flag, aggressive buy, come back, touch the bottom of the bull flag, and you guys know the rest, right? So the bottom of the bull flag is a great spot. Now, that's not the main reason they went up. I think the main reason they went up is because Apple, on a daily time frame, multiple days in a row, here even on an hourly time frame, showing a bull flag, okay? So sideways, bull flag, push up, come back, push up, okay? Easy peasy. And then not just Apple, but Microsoft, also in a bull flag, which is a giant cup and a handle. It's my favorite pattern because it's all about rounding and then a bull flag, which is awesome. All right, Microsoft keeps on proving that it loves to hold 256, so guess what? That's where the buyers buy. That's where you want to buy, 256, okay? And so that's what happened right there, which was awesome. I know a lot of students took Microsoft calls, legendary trade there too. So anyway, this alone is going to help me, just Microsoft and Apple. But Amazon, also with a nice little descending wedge, look how tight this was. See, so it even popped up yesterday, sold off so hard, and shaved all those losses back upwards to recollect, came back and bull flagged, rocketing upwards, right? So I have 3 of the best companies on planet Earth telling me that they're going to go up with these patterns. Well, okay, then what must the SPY do? Okay? Probably go up. Especially because all of them were just in super bullish patterns. Either way, it has to retest. And that's essentially how I did it on the bigger time frames, right? But if I look at the smaller time frames, like the 5-minute, a lot of people were seeing this and thinking bear flag. Understandably, right? We shorted that actually right there, which was awesome. I think we made like over 80 or 90% on that today. Now, look what happens as it goes along. Just pay attention to what happens as it goes along. Right here. See how it's holding this demand zone right here? That's the hourly time frame demand zone, remember? Broke up, came back down, perfect. Now we keep going above it, right? Awesome. Awesome. And so you start to see some aggressive buying again. And then the selling that comes in is more choppy versus look what happens when the buyers come in, right? The buyers came in so aggressively. Then the sellers sort of chop it down. Buyers come in super aggressively, sellers chop it down again. And then so we began. Okay? And so I saw that we were just making higher lows all day, right? And so this kind of goes into what I want to teach in a couple weeks about gaps and flags. But essentially, with a bear flag, the way that you kind of know a bear flag is fake in the best possible way, I know a lot of students have wanted to kind of know this too, is if the chance for it to break out, so let's figure it out right now. Let's say that the chance for it to break out is like right here. Okay, so it breaks out successfully, let's say, right? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, right? But on the way down from the bear flag, usually there's a lot of demand that can be held. It just can. Sometimes it just can, okay? It can. And so right here was that demand, okay? Because you see what happened right after this red candle here with this wick right here? The buyers buy, right? So if you just kind of draw that right there, for example, right, with that little zone right there, that's where the buyers bought it right here. And so that's where the buyers bought it at that time as well. So I saw this bear flag pushing down aggressively, but it was immediately met with just the same amount and more of buying pressure, which tells me that the buyers are fighting the sellers way harder than the sellers can even fight or think to fight the buyers. Then they come back down, hold, this whole thing's bull flagging. I got this rounding, this fake out right here. Boom, I've even got a demand zone right here because if you just kind of look, that's where the buyers bought super aggressively, right? So it came back down there, boom. Yeah? So then even looking on the 1 minute right here, we were able to enter at 10:06 right here. I had a little earlier entry because I wasn't really wanting a fake out. You know, obviously you don't really always get what you want, but I couldn't really get the perfect entry right here. I was able to average down over here literally because it just stayed flat right on top of my demand zone. So it was bull flagging. It was also making this triangle here. And the bull flag is right here. That's that bull flag right there. So if I'm going to draw it for you, it's kind of like this. Pretty much like that. Right, so you see how it's kind of bull flagging. Basically a cup right here, a giant handle, and then we started just running up. So that's contracts from $10 a pop right here. Ran those all the way up to 100. I think they went over 170 something on those contracts, which was awesome. That's why I was selling my runners around that level. So yeah, if you want to also check out the contract as well itself, we were at the 380 call there at 10:06 a.m. And if you kind of just look at how aggressively this kind of thing moved. Meanwhile, let's see over here. How can I go to the charts again? Let's just type in SPY. Okay, here we go. Now, perfect, I split those two up, and then, so this is your contract that we had. Okay, so we were able to get this right here at 10:06 right here. So that's where I was able to buy it at the best spot. One of my averages right there at 10:06, and the low today was $8, so we didn't really have, you know, too much, like $2 or $3 difference from the bid and the ask on 10 to 11, and so boom, it just started popping off all the way up here to 170, as you can see, and so I was just kind of selling it up there due to the just massive rallying, but of course, you know, trimming along the way just to be safe, you know. I mean, look at this, 170, and they immediately died in this tiny move. All this work was killed off in one tiny move. That's 0 DTs for you. So are there any questions about this? Was this mapped out well? Anyone have questions?
Can you talk about sizing in terms of like how you're trimming that throughout the process? I know you mentioned how like it hit 59%, but you took less percentage, just to kind of, for people to kind of think about how to cut as you're moving upwards through the move, so you can kind
Definitely.
of not as much.
Definitely. So it's all about not being greedy, okay? That's pretty much what it really comes down to. And I know that sounds like super easy to say and all, you know, how do you maximize a move by just not being greedy? Well, think about it. I mean, 99% of the people in the world, like, they want to sell at the perfect time, okay? And so they end up holding through all this and they think, oh my God, like, you know, it's going to keep on rocketing because it's already had like 9 or 10 green candles in a row. But that's exactly the opposite of what you'd be thinking. You should be selling 0 DT contracts on these upward momentums because, you know, they're options. Options have volatility involved in them, ingrained in the contract. And so if you see like a tiny little red candle like this, that'll severely damage the contracts because a lot of people are holding your contract, right? SPY's ripping faces. Obviously, people are going to hold your contract. And so these little red candles here will kind of pull you back and make you lose more than 20% on these 0 DTEs if you're already up that much, you know, very quickly. So the number one way to start that I do exit at my trims a lot, I'll literally just see these massive volume pumps, massive pumps where I see like just a little bull flag right here, a super aggressive buy to the point where it's just like, it feels like really high, and then I'll trim a little bit, you know, and then I'll just hold, because, you know, I expected this to make a giant move today. We all did, because it was just so many reasons with everything I just explained, right? And so those bull flags, like on Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, everything, on the way up, you want to just slowly close out as many positions as you want. It's just all about de-risking, slowly exiting, slowly exiting, up, and then you just slowly exit. You could exit on one contract on each of these candlesticks if you want, because the IV is just keep on pushing your contracts up so high. And so then you were out most of your contracts right here, and I bet, let's say like you were up like 100%, like from here to here, right? Then this little pullback might have pulled you back to like literally like 50 or 60%, you know, because although that move is so much tinier compared to this giant rip from buying at the bottom here all the way up here, you know, that should be like 10%, right, on a normal contract max, right? But on a 0 DT like these ones will absolutely just kill your contracts, absolutely. So you want to make sure that you're selling when the candles are pumping super aggressively, big, giant, and green. Like, sure, if you sell on this one, you know, you're gonna wish you sold on this one, right? But let's say that you didn't sell on this one, and then you were holding through this and this and this and this, and you just started selling over here because you were scared it was gonna tank now and you wanted to save your percentages. Like, no, that's stupid. So just don't worry about it. You know, at that point, you're just kind of pinching pennies. Just focus on selling into the pressure, into the upwards momentum, because that's when all the retail traders are buying, is when the momentum is pushing. That's how I trim. I trim on these giant green candlesticks because I know that that's when the highest the percentage will be. And if it goes one more little candle upwards higher, that's fine, whatever. You can't make it perfect. You just can't. But you can get close. You can get as close as possible to perfect that there is. And that's good enough. Other questions? That was a great question, Ed.
Thank you, Sensei.
Of course. No questions? Okay. Well, thank you guys for participating in the 1600 percenter. We're gonna try to make that as regular as possible and do our best every single day. I was able to be in the live trading literally from open until close, so that's pretty much wraps for the day. Enjoy your guys' July 4th, and thank you guys so much for joining and having fun today with me in the chat.
Thanks, Pat. Appreciate it, man.
Of course, of course.
Thanks, Pat.